interview. It was a rainy Tuesday morning when Sam received the email that changed everything. After months of sending out applications, tweaking his resume, and waiting endlessly for responses, an opportunity had finally come knocking. Sam had landed an interview with one of the top companies in his industry. A dream job that could change his career forever. But as the excitement started to sink in, anxiety. Sam had always struggled with interviews. Talking about himself, his skills, and his experiences in front of strangers made him feel awkward and self-conscious. He had been rejected before due to not articulating his thoughts well enough, and the fear of failure weighed heavily on him. He knew that this time, he couldn't afford to mess up. He had to get this right. Before we dive into today's story, if you're looking for practical tips and insights that can completely transform your interview experience, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We're here to guide you every step of the way toward acing your next job interview. Don't miss out on the upcoming videos packed with useful content designed just for you. Sam knew the first step was research. He had to know the company inside and out. He dove deep into TechNexus's history, how it started as a small startup that grew into a tech giant over the last decade. He learned about their recent projects, their corporate culture, and their vision for the future. Sam wanted to be able to speak the company's language and demonstrate that he was not just another candidate, but someone who truly understood and aligned with their values. But as Sam sat in front of his laptop, going over his notes, the same old fears began to creep in. Research was easy. But how would he present himself in the interview? How would he avoid the pitfalls of nervousness that had plagued him before? It was then that he remembered something his friend Jack had told him months ago. Jack had landed a fantastic job recently, and when Sam had asked him how he'd done it, Jack had said something surprising. "I didn't do it alone. I got a coach." Sam had dismissed the idea at the time. He didn't think he needed a coach. After all, it was just talking, right? But now, faced with the prospect of a make-or-break interview, he realized that he needed help. He needed someone to guide him through the process, to teach him how to communicate his value clearly and confidently. That's when he decided to call Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson was a seasoned professional and an expert in communication. He had spent years coaching people on how to present themselves, not just in interviews but in all areas of life. Sam had met him at a networking event a year ago, and while they hadn't stayed in touch regularly, Sam knew that if anyone could help him, it was Mr. Anderson. When Sam called and explained his situation, Mr. Anderson was happy to help. They arranged to meet the next day at a quiet coffee shop. "So, you're interviewing at TechNexus?" Mr. Anderson asked as they sat down with their drinks. "That's impressive. They don't interview just anyone." Sam smiled nervously. "Yeah. But I'm worried I'll blow it like I've blown the others." Mr. Anderson leaned back in his chair, studying Sam for a moment. "What makes you think you'll blow it?" "I get nervous," Sam admitted. "I freeze up. I'm terrible at talking about myself, and when they ask tough questions, my brain just shuts down." Mr. Anderson nodded thoughtfully. "You know, Sam, it's not uncommon to feel that way. But what if I told you that interviews aren't about having all the right answers? They're about having a conversation. They're about showing who you are, not just what you've done. Sam frowned. But I don't know how to do that. That's what we're going to work on, Mr. Anderson said with a reassuring smile. Step 1. The foundation, self-reflection. Before they even began practicing interview techniques, Mr. Anderson insisted that Sam do something unexpected. Self-reflection. Before you can convince anyone else of your value, Mr. Anderson explained, you need to be convinced of it yourself. He handed Sam a notebook and asked him to write down the answers to a few key questions. What are your strengths? What makes you passionate about your field? What are your proudest achievements? What value do you bring to the table that no one else can? Sam spent the next few days thinking hard about these questions. At first it was difficult. Like many people, he struggled to articulate his own strengths without feeling boastful or unsure. But the more he wrote, the clearer it became. Sam realized that he had a lot to offer. He just needed to learn how to communicate it. For example, one of his strengths was his ability to solve complex problems under pressure. During his previous job, he had led a project that was falling behind schedule, and through sheer determination and strategic planning, he had managed to get the team back on track. It wasn't an earth-shattering accomplishment, but it demonstrated his resilience, leadership, and ability to deliver results. Sam needed to highlight stories like this during his interview. Step 2. Nonverbal communication. Mastering the first impression. With his self-reflection complete, Sam felt a bit more confident. But Mr. Anderson reminded him that interviews begin long before the first question is asked. The moment you walk into that room, you're being evaluated, Mr. Anderson said. Your posture, your handshake, your eye contact. All of that sends a message before you even open your mouth. They spent hours practicing these small but crucial details. Mr. Anderson showed Sam how to walk with purpose and confidence, how to offer a firm but not overpowering handshake, and how to maintain eye contact without coming across as intimidating. It's about finding the right balance, Mr. Anderson explained. You want to project confidence, but you also want to be approachable. Sam practiced these nonverbal cues until they felt natural. He noticed that even when he wasn't speaking, his body language could make a powerful impact. It was all part of the communication process, and it gave him a sense of control he hadn't felt before. Step 3. The elevator pitch. Telling your story. Now that Sam had laid the groundwork, it was time to tackle one of the most critical parts of any interview. The elevator pitch. Tell me about yourself, Mr. Anderson said one afternoon, simulating the start of the interview. Sam froze. This was the question he had always dreaded. How could he sum up his entire career in just a few sentences? How could he talk about himself without sounding either too humble or too arrogant? Take a breath, Mr. Anderson advised. Start with where you are now, briefly touch on your past experience, and then finish by explaining what excites you about this opportunity. And remember, this is a story, not a list of accomplishments. Sam took a deep breath and tried again. I'm currently working as a project manager at a marketing agency, where I've been responsible for overseeing multi-channel campaigns for a variety of clients. Before that, I worked as a content creator, which gave me a strong foundation in digital marketing. What really excites me about this opportunity is the chance to bring my project management skills to a company like TechNexus, where innovation and creativity are at the forefront. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Over the next few days, Sam refined his elevator pitch, adding more personal details to make it feel authentic. He practiced till it rolled off his tongue naturally. Step